We now have a second round. And first, I'd like to ask Ms. McGowan, you noted in your testimony that when you submitted your resignation to the Civil Rights Division, it was the same day that Acting Attorney General Yates was fired for refusing to defend President Trump's Muslim ban. Did you consider that an attack on religion by singling out Muslims for discrimination?
Mr. Chairman, the attacks of this president against the Muslim community are among the most horrifying legacies of this administration. And I will tell you, it was a very, very difficult day for me to submit my resignation from what I was describing as a dream job. And I will say, when I first learned that Attorney General or Acting Attorney General Yates had stood up to the president and said that the Department of Justice has a duty to do justice and enforce the Constitution and would not defend that ban, I had a moment of thinking that maybe I had jumped ship too soon. I thought maybe the good folks on the inside would be there to serve as that firewall against what we feared might come from this administration. And then, as many of you all know, we all came back from commercial break, watching whatever program we might have been watching, and then we learned that she had been summarily fired. And so to the extent that this, again, is a sign from day one of the lawlessness of this administration and the fact that anyone who would be standing up for civil rights was inevitably going to have an extraordinarily hard time, and in fact actually would be forced to choose between whether or not they could continue to serve in their role or actually live up to the Constitution, is why I left, why so many amazing people have left. And I just want to make clear that the ramifications of what has been happening over these past 3 years will have a legacy for many, many years to come. Civil rights lawyers at the Justice Department, even if we turn the corner and have new leadership, will be now handicapped trying to go into communities with any level of credibility, right? It's not just the FBI that's been damaged. It's Civil Rights Division lawyers going into communities, and why should they be trusted? The amount of energy that will need to be spent rehabilitating that credibility is effort that will be wasted when, in fact, it can and should be spent on reinforcing and rebuilding civil rights in this country.
Thank you, Ms. McGowan. Mr. Sasser, did your firm, your group, public interest group, get involved with opposing the Muslim ban?
No, we did not. We did not file any briefs or have any clients in that matter.
You didn't see that as a religious issue when every Muslim was not permitted to come to this country?
We just didn't analyze it, and so I don't have any comment to share with you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Eiffel, do you see any reason why the Civil Rights Division should be involved with the unfortunate incident that happened to Mr. Mabouk and others when they had their businesses damaged during riots in this country? Is that a Civil Rights Division claim, or should that be the Criminal Division?
Well, I think it's the Criminal Division, except in this way, which is that, the question today in Louisville is, what are people supposed to think? What is the action that's going to be taken that's going to make changes in a department that has had problems over many, many years? In a situation in which there are officers on the force, including the officer who was indicted yesterday, who, when he left the Lexington Police Department, his supervisor said he should never be hired again. And yet he was hired by Louisville. He's been accused of multiple incidents of sexual assault. This department has been having problems for many, many years. And if business leaders want their businesses to be protected, and they want to ensure that the community is at peace, then they too should want the Department of Justice to bring their resources in to conduct a pattern and practice investigation to find out what has been happening in the Louisville Metro Police Department, and to, if necessary, bring suit and enter into a consent decree to create a roadmap so that there can be peace and a path forward for public safety in Louisville.
So
business leaders should want that too.
Ms. Eiffel, what you're saying, I guess, one of my colleagues on the other side said that when the city, like in Columbus, Ohio, can't come in and protect Mr. Mabouk's property, that the federal government should. And of course, the Republican governor of the state didn't ask for the federal government. But what you're saying is when the rights of African Americans can't be protected by the locals, then the Civil Rights Division should come in with patterns and practices. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that will help protect businesses as well, because it will bring some order, some vision, and some roadmap for public safety to the community.
I appreciate you responding. And I'd just like to comment that we saw it at the Republican convention when Mr. Pence recognized the lady whose brother had been killed in Oakland, California. He was a Homeland Security officer, and he was killed during the riots that occurred afterwards. They were unable to say, as the members of this committee during the hearings when we had Mr. Barr before us and others, they can't say the word boogaloo. They could be waterboarded, and they would not say the word boogaloo. And FBI Director Wray made clear in his testimony that most of the violence that the FBI sees as terrorism comes from the right wing, the right side, from groups like boogaloo, waterboard, won't talk. I yield back. Mr. Johnson.